And no substitutions for Blank coming into week 2, but there is a new player on Bang, and that is going to be Crazes, who we haven't seen, or maybe it's Crazies. We haven't seen this guy yet, so it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table. Blank, though, Eat Up still going to be riding this one out, at least for the time being.
And looks, I'm wondering if this is indeed going to be a Doomfist. It's funny that both are hovering on it, because I'm expecting that it's not going to be, but it's like, almost when both hover on it, I'm like, is there something I don't know? But no, of course, not going to be the Doomfist. And interesting set of compositions coming out here, quite similar in some ways, very different in others. We'll have to see how well that health pack control comes in for one.
Exactly, because I think one's going to be one of the deciding factors for a Bang coming into this. Their other composition, the rest of the composition is pretty standard. Crazy's on the Tracer as well is going to have to look very hard for these fights.
Very big opening damage on Cheeky. Great charge in from Trill just as the bubble expired. That is a really solid open for Blank. Really negates the front line in there. You see that already, just looking to get right in, punch a hole through it with the big damage between the Roadhog and Reaper. And there you have it, folks. That was a pretty knockout fight right from the gate, really.
Pretty low effort as well. Blank just found the opening. Trill found his target quite quickly. No hesitation on that charge whatsoever. Takes down his counterpart in Shiki, and the rest of the team just go. They don't let anything they don't give away any opening for Logitech Gigabank to take advantage of, especially shutting down one on the Tracer not on the Tracer, but the Sombra quite quickly to not allow the charge to go through for the ultimate is very important.
You actually just saw Blue there heading back to spawn to change off. Yeah, it's going to be on that Diva, but that was a very late decision. It's a smart decision, I think, out of Logitech Gigabank here, but a late one that has cost him time. Hook in, able to just roll away and get the pick on Husk. That's a good opening, actually, from a Bang, kind of, you know, making do with what you've got, but now starting to even up the tide a little bit with that coalescence here is Tongue as they pick off Crazies, and you can see the damage going down on the rest. Still relying on that EMP to come up, but just not available, at least not for this fight.
And Blank sort of adapting as well. They noted the compositional change from Logitech Gigabang. Hook coming out, no fear of any shields because there aren't any. Shiki was there just a little bit late. You saw him diving in after the Hook member was already in. That was kind of like just to counteract, kind of start that fight already, maybe even try and rescue the Hook member, but it's not going to be enough.
Very cheap fight as well for Blank, and now they need to commit more. Sound barrier, able to dodge out that EMP as they also picked one. They shouldn't need to expend any more resources on this one as they just look to get the route, and indeed are getting it here. Logitech, these fights are just not going their way, and they're struggling to find any way in.
Logitech haven't even really been on the point outside of Shiki diving on as a Winston, nearly by himself following the Hook from last fight, but this time around, one, despite getting what was probably a pretty good EMP, not enough players from Bang could take advantage of it. Blank, they shrug it off. Husk gets a triple kill, that's all they need.
And they've still got all the resources, right? Valkyrie very early out of Shin here because they need to find a way to get in. Crazies is going to struggle to find an angle for this Deadeye. They got Trill low, but the Earth Shatter saved out by the Transcendence from Oyo, but not Crazies. He goes down to Husk, and now the whole Hog as well to just separate out these members, deal the damage to anyone who's too isolated. As you see the Hook onto one as he just gets dropped down. Logitech now out of resources. Blank themselves are too, but the numbers are in their favor, as is the point, which is, by the way, at 99%.
Now the Hook.
A Bang, yeah, great Hook, gets Crazes, and a Bang are just looking to separate it out to really give this one a fair go. Shin trying to go in for a res or at least some delay, will not make it very long, and Oyo not even able to get to the point. That was pretty convincing from Blank.
One more slow motion Hook from CKM as well. I don't even know if he's missed one so far. It's been a Bang just not finding any opening to break through whatsoever. They also had that compositional change sort of part way through after that first fight. Most teams, when they get 100-0, they get one fight where they can get in, but not this time around because they didn't have the time to charge most of those ultimates. Even in that final fight, they just didn't have that many resources. Transcendence did eventually come in to sort of block out the Earth Shatter previously, but even that wasn't quite enough to save a bunch of the members. Crazies on the McCree as well.
Yeah.
Couldn't find the kills, couldn't find the space to work with because the rest of his team were dropping so fast.
And unfortunately, one headshot could have been all that did it. We often talk about in those 100-0s, theoretically, the other team gets at least one opportunity to have all the resources available, but not so much that time around. Let's see if Logitech Gigabank can kind of change that tune here. Opening skirmish out. Slightly unconventional path here out of Blank, wrapping around the far side of the point, just looking to get themselves established on it with that shield comp.
Hook.
Recognizing what worked. Hook again, knocks Blue's mech. Great opener. Logitech Gigabank just losing a lot of the dive pressure now as Husk trying to route out some members on the side. Doesn't quite get the closeout, but a Bang
another Hook.
Find the way in. Great Hook, there we go. Shiki low as well. Blue does get back in the mech, but unfortunately they're already again at a numerical disadvantage. And point did go the way of Blank.
The meta is sort of starting to shift towards this heavy tank composition, even for Village. When you want to just run directly to the point, teams are no longer as keen to start on that high ground. So unconventional, but I think it's starting to work themselves towards the mainstream. This is what teams are moving towards now, and a bang, they're behind the times.
And you can understand why. I mean, so far it's working, right? At least they, kind of got that establishment for free, but even so, now Logi take a bang to get some good opening damage. That's
another hook.
Transcendence, yeah. Hook is trying to save his teammate. Unfortunately, no such luck in saving Blue's mech, and the commitment coming in, but a bang just not finding anything much for it. A few members getting low, but the closeout is just never really there. This time, though, we should be able to see a Deadeye out of Crazes, which we were not able to see previously on Shrine.
And that's it, right? A few members low. Huss was on less than 10 HP even, but no one from a bang could finish them off. Blank Esports doing such a great job of just shutting out a bang at every turn. It feels like Shrine all over again. A bang just can't even really get on top of this point. They can't contest it at all. They're starting to come up to ultimates, but they're also changing compositions. Look at this now. They're now having to reset basically everything. A Blank, they got their lights up.
This is what they started Shrine on. They opted to change off it because it wasn't working. Now they find themselves back on it, and already Oyo dropped. Haas doesn't matter, he got EMP'd, he does actually end up going down, but it's the only kill from their Deadeye. Really one of the only resources a bang had, as the rest of the members getting picked apart. Headshots abound out of Huwu as he drops one. And look at that, like you said, the Christmas tree is all lit up for Blank here. Except for Kuro, I don't know, that one light doesn't work.
Yeah, his one's, he celebrates Hanukkah, so for Blank Esports, they only need to use one sound barrier though, right? And that was a really cheap fight. Almost saving Huss, but not quite enough. You do need something to sort of counteract the fact that Huss was hacked to the middle of it. A bang still just needs some ultimates. They do finally have that
whole hog,
and they use it straight away.
That's so nasty. Whole hog kept everyone zoned off the point. They couldn't even get on. I mean, that's the thing. They had all those ultimates as well. I mean, even if someone had started to slip through the whole hog, they had an Earth Shatter, they had a Death Blossom to separate the backliners. If you get a hook, you kill that person and Death Blossom the rest. They had all the tools, right? It's all just about pulling which one you want to use out of the bag. And you've got to say it fairly, that was pretty one-sided.
That was actually, by the way, one of the only kills that a bang got. That one Deadeye kill onto Huss, and that's it. They didn't get any other, they didn't have anything else to work with for a bang. That was an extremely tough series for them, or just a map, really a series of maps within Nepal. But for Blank, I mean, before coming into this match, and we talked about last week the fact that they weren't too happy about that 4-0 despite having a 4-0, and that they wanted a super clean game. I'd say so far they're living up to that after one map.
And I want to touch on something. I actually mentioned it a little bit at the start of Village, but I want to go back to it. Often when you get those 100 to zeros, your opponent will at some point have an opportunity to have all their resources up, at least outnumber you in terms of resources. And that's often the tough fight for whoever's on the point to close out the full 100 to 0 and not have it capped back at 99. But first of all, Blank were rarely needing to commit their ultimates prior to that anyway. You saw in both of those situations, they had most of them right up at the end on both of those two maps. Also, the compositional changes at really inopportune times really hurt a bang. On the first one, they spent just so long making the change because they sort of half changed that a couple of members had to go back and change. They just ended up losing too much time, too many resources, and then on Village, it was a case of they basically changed halfway through the map. They didn't do themselves any favors as well.
And Shrine, there was one particular fight where they did get that EMP down. One had some decent coverage as well. You saw the AoE that had effect on, but they didn't get any kills. In fact, it was the opposite. Blank said, okay, we got EMP'd. Time to run it then. We might not have rocket boosters. We might not have a charge or anything available, to be honest. But playing defensively would have probably cost Blank. There would just been a huge amount of tanks, massive HPs that would have cost him. But going in very aggressively, countering them like that quickly was extremely effective. But map 2 is now getting underway, coming into Hollywood as a bang's pick, and they're going to need a much better game this time around because Nepal was just all Blank.
This, however, is also an opportunity on the Blank side of things to continue that dominance that they are looking for out of this particular match. Like you said, a goal that they kind of set for themselves after last week. Like, yes, it was a 4-0, but they want to look clean. They want to look precise. They want to look untouchable as far as these other teams go. Like, that's what Blank want to be doing here because they are wanting to make that playoffs run. They want to look scary when they go into that. They want to look like what Ardiant looked like just about 6 months ago, right? And this is an opportunity to do that because they get to pick the side. I almost guarantee they're going to go ahead and pick the defense side. You get the full hold, then you cap a third. that's how you look like not just winning, but shutting your opponent right out.
And at this point, Blank can choose to run the tank compositions again, put CKM back on hog, if you will. That was very effective onto Nepal if they are defending first, which they are.
Yep.
So, you know, the options are there. But to be quite honest with you, Blank have the variety, they have the kind of flexibility to do other things as well. So we are going to see a different composition now, more traditional dive with the Tracer Soldier. Set up CKM as that soldier who is, as we've seen last week, and for anyone that has seen him in the Australian scene, someone that has a very large, very varied hero pool, so he can play a lot of different picks. And Huss is, he's really coming into his own as a Tracer as well.
Yeah, and I think that's been one of the interesting kind of subtle shifts out of Blank, at least with AEU up still on the bench for the time being. Huss is taking up that Tracer role instead of Huss was somebody who came in with a lot of hype that I don't want to say he struggled to live up to it, but you know, he was performing perfectly adequately, but there were still some question marks about, like, who is this Huss guy exactly? But started coming into his own, and now on the Tracer is once again actually looking quite comfortable, all things considered.
And he's got a lot of leadership to this team as well. He's one of the sort of older members, also one of the returning players, and he has a lot to offer on that side of the game. And a Bang going to need a lot to break through this Blank Esports defense in this opening attack.
Tongue, of course, on the Zenyatta that he touted himself at being so good at. Let's see if that actually stands true. I mean, certainly one would expect it would based off his past performances, but there we go. There's the first dive, and Tongue's the first casualty. Oh, that's an unfortunate one, Tongue. And already a Bang. I mean, they're just looking a little bit cleaner this time around. The execution was all there on the dive, kind of catching onto these backline members. The wraparound here now from one as he looks to drop out Kura. That is definitely going to be a cap from a Bang.
We do get that very first kill so quickly as well. Usually the defense would fare a bit better if they pulled back in time to sort of make that disengage happen. CKM being the primary person that needs to live through that to put the counter damage out there, but hung down very quickly. CKM is your second kill. The other four members don't quite have the firepower to defend that point, so a very quick attack from a Bang, and now going to be forced into a very quick defense on the B site for Blank.
It was interesting that there was no Ana, because there isn't really anything to disrupt the dive for that point. Of course, you don't necessarily want to run it here anyway, so now Blank trying to stay set up as they are in this high ground. It's up to a Bang to dislodge it, but it's also up to Blank to take the fight to the cart. You see on the bottom there the wraparound Huss looking for the flank.
There it is. The pulse bomb came out there as well, so about now Huss and the rest of Blank Esports rather would probably want to help him out there because he was by himself.
A Bang can just kind of run away with this now, using the Transcendence for sheer momentum as they open up with the Dragon Blade as well. And that was a pretty clean dive once again. Blank really too lean on members to stay to contest the cart too seriously. They're just going to kind of throw bodies at the point to stall it out a little bit longer, give themselves an opportunity for another fight, which is better than nothing, but they feed a lot of ult charge back.
That being said, it was only a 1 kill on the Dragon Blade, and for Blank, if they didn't lose the last member, who didn't go down here as well as the others, then this would be far more defendable for Blank, because only losing one member to a Dragon Blade, you can wait for him to respawn. You don't have to reset fully either. You can pull back just a little bit and then recontest, but now this is much harder to play with. They can't change compositions because they have ultimates up, and they need to get a lot of value out of these ultimates. But Logitech G, a Bang also have some of their own.
Yeah, tasted their own medicine as well as what they have. The dive from Blank, just this time they are the ones being convincing, being decisive, getting straight onto the backline as before. A Bang were really ready to react to it. That's a good one from Blank and gives them the opportunity to really sort of dig their heels in a bit here.
Great catch by CKM right at the end. They're going to force a little bit more time off the clock for a Bang, which was a very kind of weird fight for them. They had two ultimates they didn't decide to use. Shin died with the sound barrier. Shiki also died with his Primal Rage as well. Like, you probably could have used that. A 5-member attack could have possibly still been working for them. They had the early ground to play with, the early positioning. They had the pressure on top of Blank, but they didn't continue that pressure, and now they've had to force a full reset.
And you already see just the time it's taking. The card is actually technically moving, but already the members from Blank are just kind of set up here to pincer these members. And unfortunately on the retreat, a Bang are not quite clean enough, losing 3 members there. That's a pretty convincing one from Blank once again. The tide seems to have shifted pretty solidly from those first couple of fights really going the way of a Bang, now going the way of Blank.
It's an initiative from Blank as well to be proactive to find those opening picks. For Trill to be able to access the back line nearly for free, dropping directly down onto Ogo. A Bang just couldn't find that response. They didn't have the sound barrier to protect them straight away. They couldn't make the counter plays with the Dragon Blades or anything. In fact, for a Bang, they actually have ultimate advantage. They definitely do now, but they didn't have a disadvantage before either.
That's an early transcendence from Oyo so that they can actually get some presence out on the point. Self-destruct from Huru doesn't quite catch any fish this time. It's going to be the fight out in earnest as Tung committing his own, but not enough to save CKM from one's Dragon Blade. They need to deal with one before he gets too much work done. And there he goes, just pins it in, and now the tank's getting nuts on these squishy members. By the way, the payload has not been moving. Huss doing a great job of just kind of ducking and weaving it out of the backside of the fight, keeping that one from going anywhere. Shiki in full retreat, as is the rest of Abang. And this time with the resources committed, Abang still walk away empty-handed.
And that's the kind of way you want to respond to a Dragon Blade as well. Blank pullbacks ever so slightly. They may lose a member here, but CKM was alive. The other members were also alive to make sure that CKM was going to live through that ordeal. And for one, couldn't get enough mileage. For the rest of the Bang either, they couldn't break in past CKM's defense.
And now CKM with this tactical visor should be able to go relatively untouched this fight. They go and commit the dive onto him, but Shiki needs to not go too deep. It's going to pay off, though. They trade 1 for 1 with that, but no, one also in too deep for that one. Payload has been moving, and now Blank can pull back to it, take the fight to the objective. But things don't quite go their way. Crazes keeping the damage on between him and Blue. They have control of the ground. Now CKM only just back alive is not going to be able to get into position with that one. Trill and Tung looking to stall this one out. Actually, Trill may be able to stall this for long enough for CKM to get into position, thanks to that Primal Rage. Still very low, nearly dead, but CKM doing work on the other side of that fight. Trill even getting one back, and it may have just been enough. It looks like they will stabilize off that. Oh no! Oh, he ran the pulse bomb back into Kura. That was unfortunate after getting stuck like that, but here Blank should just be able to get all the respawns back in, get pressure back on the payload. Logitech just a little bit further to walk will make all the difference here, as who were even catching one late in the fight. Blank barely held on to that one, but importantly they held on.
But the groundwork was there, right, because CKM already got enough kills with the tactical visor. He respawned in time. After dying, the rest of Blank Esports were able to hold on to that camp for him, coming and getting the amount of kills that he did get. The pulse bomb did come in. He actually stood still, so Carroll ran into him and not the other way around if anything happened. But that doesn't really matter now for Blank. They've managed to withhold that attack. They need, though, to be able to withhold another 34 seconds remaining, and a lot more ultimates on a Bang side than Blank. In fact, Blank, they're actually out.
Yeah, that late transcendence from Tung may actually be what makes the difference here. You see all the... Oh no, but one's dead! So is Oyo! Logitech just not pulling the trigger quick enough. Blank do, and just tear them to bits. That was really rough. Logitech and Bang, they have time for one last one, but they got to fly onto the point.
That needed to be a fight win. Bang can't afford this. They can't afford to be losing or resetting this late now. Blank are finally able to get a couple ultimates. In fact, just one, maybe working up to 2 if this fight gets extended. Bang still have the opportunity to come in, but it'll be under desperation.
Oh,
and that's what it looks like when it's under desperation.
And the dive in alone from Shiki with the Primal Rage, just throwing ultimates in now, trying to get the whole team together on the point so they can actually have a fight. But even then, it's only a 5 versus 6 at best. CKM barely staying alive. One is looking for the angle with the Dragon Blade. They get back in onto Tung. Now he's looking to carve up. Sakura indeed finds him, doesn't quite find the rest. Trill, Primal Rage out. Huwu, though, gets 2. That could be enough to shut the lid on it. And a Bang, unfortunately, even with all those resources, having to reset the fight so late means they came in disarray and never actually got the fight that they could have won with those resources.
Huss finding that kill on the second to last fight was absolutely huge. No response from the rest of the Bang to try and mitigate that. They had the ultimates available to do that with. They had the sound barrier. They had a transcendence. They needed to come in like a little bit slower, together, unified, just walk over Blank because they had the resources to do it. They were in no rush. 30-something seconds is not a lot of time, but also all the time in the world that you need to finish that attack. What is a waste of time, what is bad, is if you run in, unfortunately, a little bit too aggressive, and now we're going to see that replay of the pulse bomb stick as well. CKM, as you saw it from his point of view, as soon as he got stuck, he's like, he accepted his fate. He stood there, he's like, well, that's it, and hopefully no one comes into me. Kura, welcome to the spawn room.
Yeah, that was a little rough. Like, I mean, that's the thing with like standing still is you don't accidentally run it into someone. So actually, Kura ran into the pulse bomb, but it doesn't matter. Like, what's done is done. And actually, by that point, like you mentioned, he had got enough points, kills rather, with the tactical visor to make that not really matter so much. It's interesting that, I mean, Bang, they've won some really convincing fights early on, actually. You know, fights with no resources were a factor. But even then, there were later on times where they had everything in their favor and actually weren't winning fights. So you've got to question maybe the consistency here of Logitech Gia Bang.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because when they were expected to win, unfortunately, they weren't able to get it done. And that was a fight they I would say not even just expected, but they absolutely should have won. 5 ultimates versus 0. Blank in kind of disarray there. Logitech Gia Bang coming in with more than what they need. They could have won with only 2 ultimates if they're really good. Walk into C, snowball a little bit further, catch Blank out. That could have been a full cap. It maybe even should have been a full cap. It's not all just Logitech Gia Bang, though, making mistakes. Got to compliment and credit the fact that us and the rest of Blank found the openings that they did.
Yeah, exactly. It's that proactivity, the unanswered proactivity, in fact. And now we'll have to see if it will once again be the X factor here for Blank. Distance is hard set now. He's scouting out that team comp. They decide they want to go at this a little bit differently. Yeah.
Yep, it is going to be Farah and the Junkrat even as well from us. So
kind of
they're going to go for full siege, as you just sort of said there. Get rid of the turret, which is going to be fairly easy here, but it's not just about getting rid of a turret. They've got to get past this front line Orisa Hog defense as well, which with 2 AoE splash damage heroes, they should be able to do.
There is the dive in to dislodge the big tanks. They catch. There's the turret down. Only casualty so far that will remain permanent will be Huwoo's mech, which he can just charge up and get back. Good hack actually onto CKM, forcing him to the ground there.
Still alive?
Yeah, still alive, crucially, as Kura sticks in the pocket. And CKM able to get back into the skies, not too much trouble. Keep raining the damage on the tanks there. Doesn't quite get the kill on Blue, but I think that's going to be enough. Huss going to go ahead and channel a Riptire right into a hole. Oh, no! Lost his life and his tire. But Blue is really the only presence here remaining for a Bang, and also having thrown that ultimate in there. This is a very late EMP. It's stalled, but these are tools you wish they'd maybe save.
And this is the kind of EMP that's not going to get them any distance as well. Trill doesn't even care. He doesn't even need a jump. Gets that cap, gets themselves a couple of kills as well. The fact that CKM just didn't even die for the longest of times. Huss, unfortunately, couldn't get the tire off, couldn't save his own life. Doesn't really matter now. He used his ultimate. He's done his job. Gets the change back onto Tracer. And for Blank, they can keep rolling on through. CKM, though, the only thing he's going to worry about is potentially getting sniped out.
And that is going to be exactly what Blank needs to take care of. They do have some pretty solid sharpshooters in their own right, but they don't seem to want to pull out their own Widowmaker, at least not just yet. So one good headshot here out of Grazes is all they really need, but one low. Blank just want to keep the pressure on. They close out on Shiki, and one having to have pulled back by this point means that, fortunately for a Bang, the card just kind of keeps moving.
Kura's going to join the DPS as well, just trying to get some damage onto Krasis as he walks on out of there. And
got the Valkyrie up in there as well.
They're kind of just rolling on through. Trill, he ate a headshot right at the opening, but he's a massive tank. He's also got a primal range. He's not at any risk of actually dying here. Blank just taking their time with it, being patient, forcing Krasis to go off and now change onto another hero. A Bang, they need another game plan.
And they gave up so much space as well.
That's a bad jump by Shiki.
Yeah, they lost a member and then just gave up all the space. Then lost another one and kind of solidified that. Just not using what they've got here, and already a proactive fight. It's going to see Blue just immediately popped. Kura, though, cannot res himself. That could be the swing point here for a Bang, but Blank have the ultimates here, starting off with the Primal Rage. Doesn't actually have any support.
It's nearly capped.
Yeah, nearly capped, so actually this may well be enough, actually. Huwoo going down without using the self-destruct. Maybe Trill was the overzealous one for popping that ultimate. And Blank do have to make some compositional changes here as well. But they have the time.
Definitely wouldn't say overzealous. They were looking like they were about to win that fight. They just couldn't find enough kills. Troll actually found something within the Primal Rage. They had a lot of momentum going into this. I would say they still do. The fact that the card is just about nearly capped. They have just under 3 minutes now. Coming up to a Dragon Blade as well. This isn't the fight where maybe they're expected to win because Logitech Gia Bang just have the ultimates, but we've been here before. We've said they got the ultimates and they didn't win.
Yeah, unfortunately, Krasis going down. One has the EMP, has to use it to great effect, better than what he has so far. Blank know this though, they're not letting him get good angles, not going to let him catch too much at once. Blue immediately losing the mech right after remeching. There's the EMP, but where's the follow-up? They do at least get Tongue. Looking to get CKM actually would be pretty significant indeed. They do. Now it's Trill the focus. No, it's actually going to be Huwoo and Kura going to lose their lives next, but a Bang, they did get the fight win that they needed.
And this time accessing the backline as one with the EMP, catching just about everybody, but especially Tongue, killing him straight away, making sure that Kura couldn't peel for him, that Kura couldn't heal for him either, because everything turns off when you lose you. That was pretty huge. Eliminating both the supports meant that Blank were easy pickings. If Logitech Gia Bang, for all the misfires that they did have on their attack, they did manage to get that defense underway.
That being said, now they don't have that tool, which means Blank know they can get aggressive without too much danger. They are aware of the Transcendence, though, I imagine, so CKM's still going to be a bit conservative with the Dragon Blade, looking for his angle inward. You see him there in the picture. Picture goes deep in, diving. What's he looking for? What will he find? So far, nothing. Has to wait out the Transcendence, and it's only tanks in front of him. Puts the blade away, having gained nothing as Huwu's mech gets popped. They do start drawing more resources out of a Bang, but they are losing their own in these
Trill's
fights
getting
as well.
kills.
He is. Trill's getting kills indeed. That could be a bit of a turnaround factor actually for them, as their own Transcendence coming into the mix, but now Trill caught out with the Pulse Bomb on him. Blank look like they want to keep it going though. They've got the cart moving. A Bang need to get back onto that one. Oh, the self-destruct from Blue seals the deal for them. And now only a minute actually left here for Blank.
Blank did manage to get all the resources out of a Bang, though there is that Sombra EMP coming up nearly, but it might not be there in time if Blank can get there quickly. Trill, though, did such a great job on the Winston with the Primal Rage, nearly won that one for them. Logitech G-Bang had to kind of throw everything at that defense, anything they had left. Blue, the self-destruct, if that didn't go off and get a double kill, this might be a different game altogether. But now, 40 seconds remaining, still unclear who's going to finish this.
Unfortunately, though, that's the second time that's happened for Trill, where the Primal Rages look good, but they've lost the fight and just not had it available for the next one. But, like you said, the other resources should be all it takes for them. And it should
unless
only be
they get EMP'd. Yeah, unless they get EMP'd, because then they will lose these 4 ultimates.
They need to kill one basically straight away. They get Shindo. That's a good start. One has the EMP. He's looking for the angle straight up. Oh! Headshotted by Tongue. The follow-up dive is there from Shiki, but they don't have much that can follow up on the EMP. Blank do have plenty as they pop crazes. The DPSs are still in it. There's going to be the self-destruct out from Huwu. Could actually seal the deal. No, doesn't even need to use it. Just went sky high. He's going to be able to conserve it as the cap rolls on over. Not as tight and tidy as Blank were wanting. First of all, didn't get that full hold on the first point. At least did get a decent defense, and you have to say, for how good things look, came down to within one fight of not making it, but crucially, they make it 2-0.
And this is going to be that Pulse Bomb stick onto probably CKM.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be.
No, it is. It is. He killed Trill first, and then that's what gave him the
Oh, there it is. That's
yep.
You see there, the double kill from CKM just kind of setting up that fight that gave them that win eventually. You mentioned they didn't get that full hold onto A, Blank are talking about here. And not only did they not get that full hold on A, but they lost it in one attack attempt from a Bang as well. So not the cleanest defense, but what they were pretty clean on is once they got to B, where they stopped that cart was very important. Now, the funny thing is that you have to go back and look at, Blank nearly didn't get that cap back themselves. They nearly didn't finish the map. So many times where they had those final attempts in there, it looked close. They had 2 attacks where it went right down to the wire towards the end. I'm talking about the cart here, not necessarily in terms of time, but they nearly capped twice, but twice they failed to. And then they were sort of on this back foot where EMPs were coming and shutting them down, or other members had ultimates that were just able to take down Blank, and Blank had some close moments. We noted the Trill Primal Rages that looked pretty good, and they were pretty good, well-timed. They were meant to be used there, but unfortunately the rest of the team going down around him, he's like, I'm getting kills, but my team's also dying, and so it took them a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for as good as that is, you almost wish it's there for other fights, but it's not the wrong call. It's just unfortunate how it plays out. But they got the win. That's what counts.
All right, it's 2 maps down now in the series, and when we come back, Blank and a Bang will continue for maps 3 and 4. We'll see